If I take you back to July of 1992, there was a third-party candidate who had a real shot at winning the presidency. Now, people will tell you that this is impossible today. There's no chance that a third party could possibly beat the Republicans or Democrats, and that's pretty much true at this point. And they've made sure of it. Bernie Sanders had a lot of comeuppance and had a chance to do it in 2016 and 2020, but the Democrats made sure that he would never stand a chance. There's been other people who've tried, but in 1992, Ross Perot, a minuscule man, a Texas billionaire, decided to enter the fray, tired of seeing jobs leave the United States and the economy constantly remain stagnant. To his left was Bill Clinton, to his right was George Bush Sr., and both men mocked Ross Perot's vision of America, talking about free trade and unfair balanced trade, deficits that would continue to throttle American small business as we signed deals with foreign countries that were completely lopsided. This was foreign and completely different than any other candidate. And he was surging in the polls. In fact, at one point, he was ahead of George Bush and Bill Clinton, and they found this to be an immense threat to the political system. And what we know today is the Uniparty. Ross Perot was castigated out, and he made some decisions to leave the party, and reasons why are variant in degrees. One is that he supposedly had his daughter threatened by George Bush, which doesn't seem to be that much of a stretch what we know about the Bush family now. But at the time, there were conspiracy theorists and people who said that he was crazy and unstable. But he left the election, came back in October, and still lost, but received 20 million votes and 19% of the popular vote. If he would have stayed in, most assuredly would have been the next president of the United States, as America was divided. But I want you to listen to this exchange, and I want you to see the faces of Bush and Clinton as they realize that their career dissipation lights are blinking red, and what a threat Ross Perot was to the system. Now, I voted for Ross Perot to be completely transparent, so did a lot of Americans, and not because I felt that he was the best candidate, but I thought he was the only one who actually told the truth. Watch this exchange. It is one for the ages, and sounds very familiar to one Donald J. Trump, and now you know America has been waiting for someone like that for decades. Watch this.
That's right at the top of my agenda. We've shipped millions of jobs overseas, and we have a strange situation because we have a process in Washington where after you've served for a while, you cash in, become a foreign lobbyist, make $30,000 a month, then take a leave, work on presidential campaigns, make sure you got good contacts, and then go back out. Now, if you just want to get down to brass tacks, first thing you ought to do is get all these folks who've got these one-way trade agreements that we've negotiated over the years and say, fellas, we'll take the same deal we gave you. And they'll gridlock right at that point because, for example, we've got international competitors who simply could not unload their cars off the ships if they had to comply. You see, if it was a two-way street, just couldn't do it. We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element, making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south. So if the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do is study that 2,000-page agreement and make sure it's a two-way street. One last point here. I decided I was dumb and didn't understand it, so I called a who's who of the folks who've been around it. And I said, why won't everybody go south? They said, we'll be disruptive. I said, for how long? I finally got them up for 12 to 15 years. And I said, well, how does it stop being disruptive? And that is when their jobs come up from $1 an hour to $6 an hour and ours go down to $6 an hour, then it's leveled again. But in the meantime, you've wrecked the country with these kinds of deals. We've got to cut it out.
Thank you, Mr. Perot. I see that the President...